I want to resist my temptation to say that everything is terrible about it because Trump happened to touch it. So I'm going to dial that back.
It's a gamble because it's like, well, suppose that the top 40 leaders were annihilated. Well, who's 41?
You know what I mean?
I will put this on record. If it's a J.D. Vance Fetterman race, I'd pick Fetterman.
Welcome to Bourbon and Rum, the podcast dedicated to civil conversation. I'm Kent, I like rum, and I'm from the left side of the aisle.
And I'm Kyle, I like bourbon. I tend to be a little more conservative. We're brothers talking politics over bourbon and rum.
What are you drinking?
Well, broke out, somewhat of a historical occasion, so I poured a little Elmer T. Lee, which is a really good Buffalo Trace bourbon, and sipping on that. What are you sipping on?
I've got a very nice daiquiri made with, I decided to leave Venezuela behind just for the moment, and I'm drinking a Cruzan aged rum from St. Croix.
I figured you were
U.S. Virgin Island.
I figured you found an Iranian rum. You're going with the theme of.
I think Iranian rum is known as being the worst of rums. So
I would think so.
The only thing worse than Iranian rum would be Iranian bourbon.
Yes, yeah, that would be quite bad, I would think.
Well, we're recording on Saturday night, the 28th of February, and we awoke today to hear about the strikes on Iran. You understand this stuff and probably pay more attention to it than I do. You want to break down kind of what happened and what you see in there and what your read is?
Yeah, it sounds like there's been some level of negotiation going on in the background with the regime trying to get some kind of nuclear deal. I think the bombings probably hurt their nuclear ambitions. I think the widespread news reporting was that it wasn't, I think Trump overblew it a little bit by saying, we have annihilated their, I think there was difference of opinion there.
The one a few months ago, you mean?
Right. Yeah. So I think there's probably some concern, beyond the blustery language of did they get everything, and then, they're negotiating with these folks, and they weren't really seeming to get the picture of the threat that was before them, and it sounded like they were getting back into, reconstituting their programs, and that was the concern. So, and then you take on top of that all of the protests of recent, and they killed like tens of thousands in the streets that are protesting, and it does seem like the regime was on its last leg to a degree, because the people are clearly fed up, and they're getting more emboldened, even despite people getting slaughtered, to combat them. And it seemed like the government was trying to hang on by making the nuclear program their last stand. And it's like, I think the determination of taking out the leadership, it's a gamble because it's like, well, suppose that the top 40 leaders were annihilated. Well, who's 41? Is he somebody that we want or don't want? But clearly there are people, a lot of people, at least citizenry, that would love for the regime to be gone. And so, it's just a question of can the sane people of the populace take control, or is it going to be some yahoo? It does seem promising if you take out enough of the leaders. If you just took out the Ayatollah, and then the Ayatollah in waiting is the guy that gets in, well, you probably haven't gotten too far. But if you really decapitate the senior leadership, could you get down to the point where, hey, you might find some sane people, which is the hope.
So does it appear that we did kill Khamenei?
That's what the reports are, but
Okay.
that's Israel and that's our intelligence. No, I don't think a body's been paraded around or anything. So,
Right.
and I'm sure the Iranians are gonna. I mean, there's not much of a incentive for them to be truthful about that,
Right.
even if they know.
Although at some point, if he's dead, I mean, I guess you could AI having him reading the newspaper the next morning,
Exactly.
but well, I don't want to. I want to resist my temptation to say that everything is terrible about it because Trump happened to touch it. So I'm going to dial that back, but obviously I do have some concerns. I hope that it worked. I hope that it neutralizes the threat from Iran. But my concerns would kind of fall under these categories. Number one, I got to say, I am not comfortable with us being in an armed conflict with Israel beside us. I know that we are committed to being a backstop and a protector of Israel. That's very different than linking arms with them and saying that we're going to go in together on a strike. I have a really, really low opinion of Netanyahu, and so that's a concern for me. Maybe you think maybe that's a distinction without a difference, but I think it's one thing to say, don't hit Israel or we will hit you. It's very different to say, we're going to link arms and we're going to go romping through Iran. And so I get concerns about that. Secondly, I have concerns if they only killed 40 top leaders and that was it, then what you said about kind of precipitating where people already were and moving along a regime change that was already underway makes sense. Pretty sure they killed more than 40 people that weren't in leadership, and every one of those killings has a cost. If you've got people that are rising up, do you blunt their do you take away their incentive or dull their enthusiasm for regime change? If you become the enemy, you're the enemy that they hate rather than, I don't like Khamenei, but I don't like the U.S. bombing me more than I don't like Khamenei. I don't know. Those would be the two primary things that I would be worried about.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe, but at the same time, some of the Twitter video I saw of Iranian citizens cheering and giggling that they were blowing up the Ayatollah's palace. I don't think it's a situation. I think, honestly, that's what I like about going after the leadership, because, number one, leadership is not popular, so you're taking them out. If you're making it like, hey, we're going to fight your country and we're going to fight your army for a protracted time, yeah, then I think you become the enemy and you become a problem. But if you can be seen by the populace as doing what they wanted to get done, I mean, that's a good place. And I don't think there's, whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, I don't think there's any appetite for putting troops on the ground and occupying Tehran. So, I mean,
right.
And I would think, if number 41 gets instated and he knows that the top 40 were annihilated in a surprise attack in 24 hours, it's some number after 40. Somebody's going to start putting two and two together like, well, I don't want to die, so maybe I can work with these guys, No,
I get that. And I hope that that's the case, right? Like I'm not playing politics over national interest in this. I hope that it works out to our benefit. I do worry about, what can you accomplish with bombing? If you got the leadership, if it really happened, that's incredible. But, we've talked about this before. It's really hard to bomb a nation into submission And we're not talking about, I mean, with respect to what you saw on Twitter, this is kind of after 9/11, people were rejoicing all over the Middle East, and what you saw was the same video of 20 people like over and over
They're
again.
dancing in the streets. Yeah.
There are, after having watched the interview with Ted Cruz and Tucker Carlson, I feel pretty confident that there are about 95 million people in Iran.
Hey, you did watch it finally.
I did. So I don't know how many people you saw dancing on Twitter, but I hope that it's representative of the general will of those 95 million.
Well, I mean, there's outside of any Twitter thing, there are we could pull them and include them in the show notes, but there are legitimate international polls that have been done to show how unpopular the Iranian government is. It's not like, these people are all, they've been demonstrating in the street by tens of thousands and getting themselves killed in opposition to the government. It's possible that we become the bad guy because we took out the leadership, but it certainly seems like it's going to be viewed in a positive light.
Just out of curiosity, what kind of numbers were you seeing in terms of unpopular? Like 65% negative, or?
So here's a survey. It's an Iran International. I think it's an Iranian news agency that probably operates outside of Iran because they're, talking bad about Iran. In June 2024, they polled more than 77,000 respondents inside Iran. Only around 20% wanted the Islamic Republic to remain in power. So, there's 20%.
Well, this is going to sound like an asshole move, but I'm going to say this. So they're 80-20 opposed to the regime. Tens of thousands of people have been protesting, and people have been killed.
Well, supposedly tens of thousands have been killed, but yeah.
Okay, that's a different deal. But I was going to say, because we're at about 65-35 in this country. Tens of thousands of people were marching in Minneapolis a couple of weeks ago. I would not want... We
didn't kill 30,000 people in the streets.
We did not. We killed several. And how would you feel? I'm not... No,
that's a stretch, I have to say.
It's a stretch. But what I'm saying, though, is... if Russia said, hey, look, Trump's really unpopular, 65% of the Americans don't want him in office, therefore we're going to do him a favor and take him out, all of a sudden I move from anti-Trump to, Red Dawn. So I don't know.
The other aspect, I also question whether 20% is a real number. If I'm living in Iran and somebody calls me with a poll, you think I'm going to say, yeah, I hate the supreme leader? I don't think so. I don't. And again, we're not doing this because, we're trying to satisfy the polls of Iran. And we're doing this because the guy's a threat to the rest of the world. But I'm sorry. I get where you're going, and I wasn't trying to insult you, but I think that's a bit of a stretch.
It's obviously a bit of a stretch. I'm just pointing out, though. We need to be damn sure of the rhetoric that we're going to rely on, I think. And I just don't,
Well, the proof's going to be in the pudding. If it turns out that, a bunch of people are all of a sudden rebelling against, I don't think we're going to put boots on the ground. I don't think there's any desire to do that. So I think the bigger risk of us being the bad guy and they're against us, it's more about who's going to get in power, because there's going to be a power vacuum, and there's egos involved and people are going to run the show, are they going to be people that and honestly, it's kind of like, even if they don't like us, I mean, okay, don't like us. We just don't want you shooting missiles at people. But
what do you expect to happen? So the last time, it was kind of notable, actually. People said, we made a very closely circumscribed strike, right? We only hit the nuclear stuff. And rather than trying to go to war, they made a few, they shot a few missiles, but most commentators said it was kind of a show. It wasn't, they weren't really trying to escalate. They had to fire something at us to make it look like they responded, but they weren't really going hardcore. Looks like there's been a lot more response from them this time. What does that augur for us?
Well, I don't know that. I mean, the biggest response was when they bombed Israel with, they shot like 1,000 missiles and like 4 made it through the Iron Dome or something. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that this particular round of missiles was. I don't know what the number is, how that compares. The other thing I wanted to address, you'd pointed out about you don't like being on the same side as Israel in a conflict. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's really that unprecedented. I mean, we've had pretty aligned interests in the Middle East for a long time, and we've been pretty clear about participating in operations together. I mean, we participated clearly in the Iran operation previously. I think there's been other military collaboration previously. So I don't know that it's, I mean, I get that you're uncomfortable with it, but I don't think it's necessarily unprecedented.
Yeah, I don't know that it's unprecedented. I don't like it. I think that, am I mistaken? But during like Desert Storm, if I'm not mistaken, like Israel, I think we probably used air bases and stuff like that, but they were largely kind of low profile in that, in part because we were trying to work with Saudi Arabia and other, so they kind of took a back seat to it.
Well, they did. But that's another interesting thing at play here. So like Saudi is now, I mean, not that they were pals with Iran before, but they're really pissed at them because, they said, hey, we're not going to allow, and they stated publicly, we're not going to allow the U.S. to use, they can't fly over our country, they can't base any aircraft to make any attacks on Iran. And so they made that really clear. And then Iran shot missiles at Riyadh. And now Iran is like, okay, screw you, Iran. So I do think the Arab population in general in the Middle East is turned on Iran. They don't really have any allies in the, because they pissed everybody off. So I think that's a positive in the sense that, I don't think the Saudis, I mean, they don't want to get missiles thrown at them, or Dubai, a missile hit the Fairmont Hotel in Dubai today, so they had to close the airspace. But I don't think, in general, those countries are losing a lot of sleep about the Ayatollah getting taken out. I think that's probably
true. There's also a lot of, there's historically a lot of bad blood between Iran and much of the rest of the Muslim world. Iran is primarily a Shiite nation rather than Sunni Muslim, which is more common among the other countries. And I think that adds to that kind of outsider nature. They're kind of a different animal than a lot of the other Middle Eastern countries because of that.
Well, and that I think is also there's some optimism, I think, about Iran governing itself peacefully post nut jobs, because it's a much more homogenous society of mostly Shia. I think one of the challenges in Iraq you had is part of the reason why Iraq worked under Saddam Hussein is because he was a brutal dictator and he made sure nobody messed with each other and he kept everybody in check because they're all scared of him. But once you took him out, you had a lot of sectarian violence inside of Iraq because you had this Sunni Shia, kind of 50-50. I don't know if it was 50-50, 60-40, it was Democrats, Republicans.
And multi-ethnic, too, in Iraq as well.
Right. And that, I think, is part of why there was this continued violence. That's where I think there's some hope with Iran that they could actually get their act together. I think, there are people, too, in that 20% that say they support the Islamic Republic. I think, we talked about this on an earlier podcast. I think in 79, there were a lot of idealists that wanted the Islamic Republic and wanted the Ayatollah. They wanted this religious leader running the show. But over the course of 40 years, there became a lot of disillusionment with that because instead of being the theocratic ruler, turns out these guys became billionaires and were thugs. And I think people became disillusioned with this idea that you're having this pure religious guy in charge. And so I think there are people that probably support the concept of an Islamic Republic, but they don't like the path that has been gone down with the current leadership. So, I think going forward, there's probably going to be a lot of support for a more secular government within Iran, but there probably are a lot of people that would like an Islamic governance. And honestly, if you had the rulers that didn't pick fights with their neighbors, it might work out okay. Saudi's essentially an Islamic republic. I can attest firsthand at the 5:30 a.m. prayer the call.
We'll put republic in air quotes there when you talk about the Saudis. But
kind of
that's true.
Kind of like how the People's Democratic Republic of North Korea.
Yeah. Well, of course, I love the history, and you look back, and so much of what happened in 1979, we don't do a good job of taking responsibility for it, but our support of the Shah, the corruption and the decadence of that regime was just off the charts.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and that's what was so interesting about, I'm not as knowledgeable about Iran as Ted Cruz, but, as I dug into it a little bit, I said that facetiously. You didn't respond. I'm not as knowledgeable as Ted Cruz. That means I really don't know shit. But no, but I did do some reading about it, and it was interesting because the people that went for the Islamic Republic under the Ayatollah, it's because of the decadence, because of all the riches and the secular. And then I think they figured out, okay, the guy is coming in, he's going to be the religious leader, and he turns out to be no different than the Shah. You give people enough money and let them have zero accountability, they're going to be a corrupt ruler.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
what do you think happens next?
I don't know that the money. I'm back to your point. These congressmen. Okay, you get $1 million a year. You can't. You can only put everything in blind investments, and you can't get a job after your term limit is up, and go do 2 terms as a senator. You're going to make $12 million. You'll be good for the rest of your life. Then leave and shut up.
Yeah. I don't know if we've ever fully laid out my plan for governmental efficiency, but literally we could afford to bribe, fill in the blank number that we could say to Congress, anybody elected to Congress, you're going to be filthy rich when you're done. With our money, we're going to give you the money.
And everybody's going to know they gave it to you. Right.
Right. But you can't You can't own any stock. We will buy at market anything you own, any company that you have. We will buy it at market plus 10%. We're going to make you filthy rich.
And you know what you could do, like,
yeah, but my plan is like, look, you get elected to national office in this country, you are gonna be rich. We promise you, and we will give it to you. But the trade-off is that you can't get rich other than that. We're going to give you enough money. We'll give you a private jet. Like we'll buy a fleet of Gulfstreams. We'll let you and your family can jet around the world. I don't care. You could spend billions of dollars. Think this through. You could spend billions of dollars enriching those people if they would only agree to take only the thievery that you're giving them out of the government, because it costs us billions, trillions of dollars for these people to leave and to go lobbying and get the kickbacks and all the stuff that happens. It's a racket.
Yeah, totally.
But people resist this. I heard somebody, like, I mean, you hear this all the time. People are like, well, those congressmen, they make $200,000 a year,
No, it's like, what? Yeah, I saw there was this big stink because the Virginia State Congress or Senate or something voted to triple their wages. Everybody, they tripled their wages. Well, their wages were $18,000 a year, and they had been in place since 1981, and they tripled them to like $50,000. And it's like, I mean, but
think
again,
of what you get.
The fact all these people are taking those jobs at $18,000 a year, that is the whole case in point to your whole thing. They're not living off of $18,000 a year, obviously.
No. I mean, and I think a lot of legislatures that way, they pay nothing. And so, yeah, if there are people who are independently wealthy, don't need the money, and want to serve their state or their community, God bless them. But you either have to be independently wealthy or you have to be crooked. That's right. That's a bad binary to put in front of people.
It's not a representative group, right?
Right. I either want bazillionaires or crooks or both.
Yeah.
Those are the only people I'm interested in governing me.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. How do we get to
well, let me
Iran
I'll just wrap on Iran. Trump did it. I'm inherently skeptical. I'm going to hope for good outcomes for this country and for the world.
Yeah, and regardless of what happens going forward, I think sending the Ayatollah to the afterlife is probably a good plan.
I do notice that, do you think the timing is completely... Nah, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to say the E word, but...
Well, I thought about that. And, okay, now let's see how you think of this. If the price of making Iran a free nation is more Epstein cover-up, okay.
Wow. No, I don't agree. I think if Iran needs to be a free nation, I'm happy with us helping, and if this plays out, fine, that's good. In general, I think people are responsible for their own freedom. And look, I got to put an asterisk next to that. That's not always easy. I don't mean to act like, but really, can you give people freedom?
Okay. I say freedom for Iran is one benefit. Another benefit is you don't have some guy arming Hezbollah and Hamas and creating the leading state sponsor of terrorism in the world. He's gone. And the Middle East is way more stable and positive. I'm not saying I want an Epstein cover-up, but if I'm weighing those two issues, I'll take world peace.
Well, I'd rather not have to make that choice, so maybe we can just avoid
So you wouldn't
that.
take world peace over an Epstein cover-up?
World peace forever or world peace for 6 months? And because I don't think we can deliver world peace.
Okay. Well, let's take another look at 6 months.
Yeah. No, but no, just to be clear, because I don't want to sound like an ass when I say this, but like, yeah, if I could have world peace and that's a ongoing status quo, that's one thing. But, you know, kicking the can down the road another couple of years, the idea of fixing the relationship of Iran to the West seems like a pretty ambitious hope that a few missiles is going to do.
I mean, a nuclear-armed Iran, kick the can down the road, let them have nuclear arms? I don't know. I think.
No, I'm just saying, does this fix it, or does this just kick the can down the road?
I see.
I don't know.
Yeah. And so, I mean, and the Epstein thing, it's like, I mean, we're back. We can go back to the Epstein thing. It's like, again, what is there going to be to learn about? So Clinton testified.
Mm-hmm.
I never knew he did that kind of thing. Okay.
Well, right, ludicrous. Look, I no, you will never pin me to defending Bill Clinton in this deal.
No,
ever.
but I'm just saying, like, I guess what I'm saying is, it's like, okay, you put Clinton on the stand and he said, yeah, I didn't know anything that was going on. And nobody believes that. But what are you going to do about it?
Well, probably nothing. But well, first of all, I don't know. It is having an effect in a lot of places. And I will say, it's frustrating to people because we've seen nothing out of government in this. But in private industry, the Epstein files are having a pretty significant effect. There are people that are losing their jobs. Good. Sure. Like the lady, the general counsel at Goldman Sachs, who was like his best bud. And, some of these people are paying a if not a legal, they're not going to jail, but they're losing high-profile positions, and I think that's only a good thing. At the risk of sounding shrill, have you looked at what at least the allegations are around this set of missing stuff that was ostensibly dropped out with the testimony about Trump? Have you been tracking that most recent story?
The sexual assault allegation on him. Yeah.
It's interesting because I don't know. I don't think everybody would be with me. I've been all along. I don't think that. I think in my mind, Trump's crime is knowing what's going on, and if he turned him in, he didn't turn him in soon enough. I mean, that would be my primary complaint.
He turned him in. Clinton said, I'm flying on the plane and have no knowledge of anything going on.
No, I'm not going to argue that. And people are going to think what they think. I don't think that you're ever going to find a smoking gun about Donald Trump with underage. I hope I'm right. I don't think that's the issue. And clearly, a guy runs for president or is elected president, a lot of things come out of the woodwork. And I'm sure there were salacious allegations against him. I mean, they may well have been disproved. But what's at stake here, and I think this isn't about Donald Trump, or not directly, I think this is about incompetence of the Justice Department. It's like the lesson from Watergate comes up. If they really did try to sweep under the rug 40 pages or some number of testimony that looked bad on Trump, like, even if you thought it was a nonsense allegation, put a memo on it and say, we investigated this and found that it was a nonsense obligation. But when you hide it and try to sweep it under the rug, man, that's a bad look. It's just a bad look.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So I don't know what they're going to do about, well, probably nothing. But, that's, again, it's like the cover-up just baffles me. Who is it that 3 presidents are taking orders from? That's the thing that just blows my mind.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. There's a lot there that doesn't make sense. I mean, I guess but to take it back to the Iran thing, so I mean, what's the answer there? Like the government needs to grind to a halt till we figure out Epstein before anybody does anything else in the world? I mean,
No, not at all. I'm just suspicious why, what happened today and the fact that and maybe, and I'm going to acknowledge this, maybe this is one of the things. The thing is that there's so much material in the Epstein files. It's going to keep coming out. All kinds of news media are doing AI research and stringing things together. And so it's going to be this slow trickle that it's going to be in the news forever. To your point, no, we can't stop our government from moving, but was this nowhere in Trump's mind when he's making this decision?
But again, like, what is I don't know, if you play that out, like, well, I'm not going to solve this global military conflict, or I'm going to do this because I don't want people to see this stuff about me and see bad things about me. Well, I mean, the guy has nothing but negative news coverage. I mean, it's not like,
True.
I mean, there's nothing positive remotely about him anywhere in the press. So it's like, I guess I just don't get the, like, why would he care?
Yeah. Well, man, my conspiracy theory card is fully punched at this point. I think it's worse. I think if Trump had a personal skeleton in the closet that he was afraid of coming out with Epstein, first of all, I think if it was there, we would have heard it before. Secondly, if that's what he was playing for, like, I'm almost marginally sympathetic to that, right? If you're covering your own ass and you go to great lengths to cover your own ass, like, that's a very human thing. But we go to great lengths, we're hiding files, we're sweeping things under the rug, we're deleting stuff, not to protect him, not to keep his name out of the thing, then for what? And it's almost like it looks worse to me if it's not to protect him.
All the other guys protect the same stuff?
Same, exactly. Right. Exactly. If there was a smoking gun and Biden didn't use it, who got a hold of him, right? Like, I just don't understand. I think I do understand.
Well, I think the other component here that isn't going to satisfy your conspiratorial, what's the word I'm looking for, disposition is, it's possible the government, I mean, you can say it's incompetent. I don't know that it's incompetent. It's just you got millions of files and 500 lawyers. Again, like, I work with a lawyer every day, great guy. If there were 500 of him touching any number of documents, I question whether anything would ever get done with anything. So I don't know.
I hear you loud and clear on that. I'm just saying, and I think that explains a lot of the mistakes, and I think that's legitimate. And again, but like, well, I'm not going to try to micromanage, but if I'm Pam Bondi, instead of talking about the Dow Jones, I think I say, we made mistakes, and we're probably going to make more because you passed a law that gave us no margin for error. We're doing our best. We will correct everything that we can when we find it, but it's going to happen because you're redacting 6 million documents. So be prepared.
Is Pam Bondi the type of person that, in your mind, that is a good communicator of nuanced factors like that, Kent? Because in my mind, she's not, but, yeah.
Well, yeah. I just think,
She's like, yeah. Can you write the words on the cue cards in big letters, please, and small words, please?
Well, yeah. I mean, and this is about me just being pissy about that, but, like, man, that, like, her testimony does not make my conspiracy thing go down. It does not make me feel like, oh yeah, no, they're on it. They got this. Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
okay, let's unpack that a little bit though. I mean, my comments about her, I agree with you. She sounds like a dumbass. So for you to satisfy your conspiratorial angle, it has to be that she's actually Albert Einstein, but she's making herself sound like a dumbass so that she can cover up this grand scheme that she's hiding. I mean, if you think that's the case, okay, but, you know.
Well, I'm just saying that if you look at her texts or her signal chat, like Pete Hegseth, I mean, does she name the group Bilderberger or Trilateral Commission when she gets the texts to tell her what to do?
Again, she's communicating on a signal chat. Does that, again, does that, the evil mastermind, is that painting that picture? I mean,
She's got a second cell phone. It's a Trilateral issued cell phone that she carries in her left pocket, I guess.
she got done with the stock market thing, and then she saw on the side, she started speaking fluent Russian to somebody. You know?
That makes me think of, we do a lot of too many movie quotes or former clips, Did you ever see No Way Out with Kevin Costner back in the day?
Gosh, I think so. I don't.
That is a good film. Gene Hackman's a senator, and
oh yeah.
but the ending of that. I mean, the movie's been out for 40 years. We could probably spoil the surprise without too much, but the whole thing is that he's being framed as a spy, and he's fighting for his life, and he finally beats it, and at the very end of the movie, you realize, no, he actually was a spy.
Well,
It's
I
a
might
good
watch
flick.
that tonight. I'm single tonight. I may have to watch that. That sounds good. I like, may I say too, I kind of like doing the podcast at night. You know what it reminds me? It gives me good memories of Art Bell. I feel like we need that music, that bum 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 bum. From the high desert, reporting to Kent.
I think, what if we got past Trump and Iran and, the kind of stuff that we know? Maybe we need to branch into some, cryptozoology and UFO kind of stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I don't want to go down tangent too long here, but before Iran, the Iran situation usurped our topics, I was going to raise to you a topic I got to thinking about after the debate. Actually, I have to credit our cousin Tommy, who I was having a conversation with Friday morning, and we were chatting about stuff, and it got me thinking about this. And maybe this is a topic for a future podcast, but I feel like the Trump factor in politics is creating a situation in the next election where neither party is really going to get what they want. And what I mean by that is, I think if you're a Democrat, you have to be 100% anti-Trump and anti-everything he stands for to hold the party line. And to do that, I think you're going to get what you're going to wind up with. Kind of your fear is the far left, because if you go any place other than far left, well, you're going toward Trump, and then, that's unacceptable. So if you're a Democrat, there's a good chance you're not, there's going to be some, the far left are going to get what they want, but the rank and file aren't going to get what they want. And then if you look at much of the Republican Party, if you really analyze what they want and what they stand for, the conservatives, a lot of what Trump has done is not, to your point, it's not mainstream conservative activity. But the next guy to get the nomination is going to have to carry on the Trump game plan. And so if you're a Ronald Reagan Republican, you're not getting what you want in the next election. There's only going to be, it's like the extremes are each going to get what they want. And, how do you get to a place where you get to more moderate, inclusive candidates? Is that ever even possible?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And at some point, though, does it go so far? So, yeah, is it AOC versus, I don't know.
Alex Jones.
And I don't even.
Yeah.
Man, I would pay to see that debate, seriously. No, I agree. And, one of the tragedies in this to me, honestly, is J.D. Vance. I read his book, man. I was impressed back in the day. I thought, wow, he kind of sees a problem that I think a lot of the left is ignoring in this country. I really believe that. But now, like, he acts like he believes that he's got to be more outrageous than Trump just to get noticed, and so he's just going to double down on it. Who would you like? Who would you pick if you had your choice of people that are in the news?
I really like Marco Rubio.
Sure. I mean, that seems fair.
Yeah.
Man, he is working hard to avoid getting the stink on him, though, and it's a hard job.
Yeah, I think I like it. He's got credibility of his own, and I feel like, I get the sense Trump really listens to him and respects him, which I don't get that sense of Vance necessarily.
Right. Who'd have thought that little Marco would have turned out to be such a confidant?
Well, and it's kind of also like being the vice president isn't a very good deal to anybody.
No.
I mean, that's kind of a kiss of death, really.
Yeah. No, that is a bad gig. There's no question about that.
Just ask Mike Pence. Yes.
How's it hanging, Mike?
I tell you, the most painful news conferences were those COVID conferences when Mike Pence would get up. Well, Mr. President, I'm glad you blah 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 blah. Mr. President. Like,
A little hard to watch. No question. Anybody else you like on the horizon there? I mean,
I haven't really thought about it much beyond that. That's a good question, Kent. I really like John Fetterman. I'd vote for him.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, do you think he's going to ever run for anything again?
I don't know. I mean, I like him. I mean, one, I like him because I feel like he doesn't necessarily play to one side only. I mean, I don't know if you're a Democrat, you probably don't like him because he has made overtures to Trump, but he also voices his own opinions about, I mean, he's not like a sycophant of Trump. I mean, he criticizes, he's got his own opinions. He's probably has a lot of views I don't necessarily agree with. I like the realness with him. I mean, I get a sense of he's just a real dude, which is
I
nice.
Completely agree with that. And I would rather have an independent thinker who I don't agree with than, I very much agree with you on that, 100%.
Who else do you see that you like?
I don't know. There's just not a lot that are. I mean, I have a really hard time. Honestly, I have a really hard time of people that. And I don't know, maybe I should be more sympathetic. The way to play the game with Trump is that you got to kiss his ass, and he just requires a lot of ass kissing, and they do it. And so it's hard to respect people that just grovel like that to me. And at the same time, like, what are they going to do? They're going to get primaried and run out of town if they don't. So I don't know. I'd take, call me crazy. Like Rand Paul doesn't care about anything,
Yeah, I like Rand Paul. I listened to him for a 3-hour Joe Rogan interview, and yeah, he's a reasonable guy.
I probably disagree with 97% of what he believes, but I don't think he's out to destroy the republic, and I think that, he's not beholden to somebody.
I really like RFK Jr. too, and I know that'll make your blood boil, but
No, it doesn't. So I have a real problem with RFK Jr. because what he's doing is so damn wrong. And like, if he was in charge of anything other than healthcare, like, we might be fine. It's like you took the lunatic and you put him in front of the asylum. But in general, the fact that he's iconoclastic, I'm okay with that. The fact that he questions conventional wisdom, I'm okay with that.
I know he's butted up against a lot of big industry players, and that pisses a lot of people off. But he was on Rogan on Friday, and he's a credible guy. And I think that the stuff he's talking about is very credible. I mean, pretty interesting, some of the stuff he was talking about, some of the fraud that's going on. There was a lot of press about the fraud in Minnesota, but he said some of the biggest fraud they uncovered was in Florida. Medical device fraud. It's like hundreds of billions of dollars a year. Like, you can set up a medical device store, and as long as you got a patient ID of somebody, a Medicare patient ID, you can bill them all day long. So, I mean, I do think he's doing some really good things. I mean, I'm sure there's people that disagree with some of the medical aspects, but I think I like the independent voice.
I agree with you on that. I'm going to go ahead and vote against measles. But the independent voice, some of that stuff, some of the structure of Medicare and Medicaid and some of the pricing models, hey, those are, I think, very legitimate things to topple or to expose.
Yeah.
It's the no measles vaccine kind of, it's like, boy, if you could approach the stuff that's really broken and just not be such a colossal ass on the other. But isn't that always the problem?
Well, I think the reason he's a colossal ass is, in your view, because he's a fly in the ointment and he's asking questions that people don't want asked, and it's going to piss people off. But I like that.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, to your point, yeah. So is that where we're headed for? Alex Jones versus maybe the Elizabeth Warren AOC ticket of the two of them.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where we're headed.
I don't know. I mean, the thing I like about Marco is whereas I think other people are sucking up to Trump and following his lead, I think a lot of our foreign policy is getting dictated by Marco Rubio. I think he's leading it, and I think Trump's following him. And I think that's a different that was what makes him a little bit different than some of these other folks that are just hanging on Trump's coattails.
Yeah.
And I think he'd be pretty capable of leading. I think he'd be more moderate in a lot of ways. So,
well, before he got assassinated in the 2016 election, he was, in the primaries, you had to call him a front runner out of that whole group of people, certainly got the bona fides to do the job. So.
Yeah. Fetterman will run against him, and Fetterman could call him Little Marco because he would be much smaller than Fetterman.
Those two need to team up,
Yeah.
Seriously, so to your point, though, like, if it keeps going, Rubio speaks to you. Does Rubio speak to Horn guy from January 6th? And I'm just throwing that out there, but probably not. He's probably not enough of a bomb thrower for some of those people.
I'm sure.
And so,
Trump now is like a bunch of people are pissed at him, like Thomas Massey. Well, taking out the Ayatollah is not America first, Well, okay.
Yeah. Well, so what do you wind up? And at some point, this goes to my coworker who raised the question with me, what would it take for us to flip? What would it take? How bad would the Democrat nominee have to be for me to vote for Marco Rubio? I will tell you that Democrat is less bad to get me to vote for Marco Rubio than the Democrat I would walk away from to vote for J.D. Vance, or you know what I mean?
I will put this on record. If it's a J.D. Vance Fetterman race, I'd pick Fetterman.
Okay. Well, if it's Marco Rubio versus I don't even know, fill in the blank there. I don't want to commit to it because it might be really bad, but I'd suck it up and vote for him anyway. I don't know who's too far left for me, but well, hey, it's good talking to you again. Let's hope for world peace. I'm not super confident, but super hopeful.
Yeah, let's see where we're at next week.
All right.
Hey, all right, Ken.
Thanks.
Good talking to you. See ya.
Hey, thanks for joining us on this episode of Bourbon and Rum Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Remember to subscribe on your favorite platform and leave us a review. Your feedback helps us keep the good spirits flowing.
And we invite you to join this conversation. Follow us on our Facebook page. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want to hear.
And until next time, cheers.